It's got a track on there called The Fullness of God, which is taken, I would say, taken almost directly from the book of Colossians. It's just
Nice.
uh, amazing.
Yeah.
So inspiring, like just the kind of like it's really based in scripture.
Hmm.
Like the lyrics are very scriptural, so you'll find yourself memorizing verses just from listening to their music. Last week when you were talking about Magnify, that was really cool, and that reminded me that we haven't really talked about Jonathan Ogden yet, Rivers and Robots, and he's a part of that group, Magnify, which is, how would you describe that? A ministry?
Yeah, I think it's like an arts ministry. So they minister to Christian artists, inspire Christian artists, and make art.
Yeah,
Kind of like almost as like missionaries. So they go into communities and inspire and preach the gospel through artists and through art.
right.
So
That's
that's pretty
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
So Jonathan Ogden is a part of that group, and he probably anyone watching this already knows about them, but in case you didn't, he started a group called Rivers and Robots. He's from England. They produce in Manchester, England, and I want to say, let's see, their second album came out 2012, and it's called Take Everything, and that's one we've been listening to a lot lately. Their music is just so good. It's basically so it's worship music, but it's very indie, very folksy,
Yeah.
and I would maybe, if I could think of a secular band, like maybe Fleet Foxes, they sound a little bit like that, maybe.
Maybe a
Uh,
tiny bit Coldplay.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, with a little bit more of a dance vibe quite often.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is where the title Rivers and Robots comes from, is the rivers is the streams of living water
Hmm.
that flow um, from the believers, and the robots are the electronic instruments. So
Ah.
they use a lot of keyboards and electronic things, but at the same time, it still manages to sound very folksy.
Hmm.
And yeah, so another good album of theirs, I'll just mention a couple because they have a lot. They have an album called Eternal Sun, which is really worth looking into. I believe that Jonathan Ogden designed the cover of that because he actually did go to school for graphic design.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think he does all the album covers. I'm not sure. But that one came out in 2016. It's got a track on there called The Fullness of God, which is taken, I would say, taken almost directly from the book of Colossians. It's just
Nice.
uh, amazing.
Yeah.
So inspiring, like just the kind of like it's really based in scripture.
Hmm.
Like the lyrics are very scriptural, so you'll find yourself memorizing verses just from listening to their music.
Yeah.
2018, they did an amazing album called Discovery, which has one of our favorite songs on there called Satisfy,
Hmm.
about how it's the Lord that satisfies us. Around 2016, he started doing work on his own, just as Jonathan Ogden. And during COVID, he started coming out with these worship sets, and that's when I
Yeah.
discovered him on the YouTubes, was just these really earnest, simple worship sets like, hey, COVID is happening, everybody's
Hmm.
locked down, let's just worship God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those were really amazing. I think a lot of people were drawn in, to a closer relationship with the Lord just from listening to things like that. And
Yeah. Trying to find music like that that's peaceful and calming and
yeah,
just really like new worship stuff.
yes, he did one around that time called Slow Down.
Yeah, that
I
was
mean,
good.
amazing song. maybe a little more poppy than some of his other stuff, but just so
Hmm.
good. It's like the Lord leading you to slow down, to be
Yeah,
still in his presence and to think
right.
about, to trust him with what's going on in the world. Their newest album, I'll just mention their newest album. It's called Take Me Back, or it's Jonathan's newest album.
Right.
Um, it's called Take Me Back. It's really good as well. But yeah, lots of themes of devotion to the Lord, longing for his return, and a lot of revelation, like a lot of,
Stuff from
you
the
know,
book of Revelation. Yeah.
yeah, like throne room type imagery
Right.
and,
Right.
you know, yeah, behold the Son of God.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So that's my media experience for the last
I wanted to ask
4.
you, I don't think that you mentioned how Rivers and Robots turned into just Jonathan Ogden. Did you say that? Or
I
did you?
don't exactly know how that happened. Um, I think they just I don't think it was anything bad. I think they just kind of
No.
wanted to do their own projects.
Well, here's what
Um,
I read. After we talked about them last time when we talked about Magnify, I did the Wikipedia and I looked them up because I think I said on the in the episode I was like, there's no definitive about us. And then right after I said that, I was like, why didn't I just go to their Wikipedia? But I didn't do that. I just because I had been thinking I've been doing research more specifically on Magnify. And so then I did look them up. Set Sail, because we talked about Set Sail as the kind of the precursor to Magnify. Well, Set Sail was their record label. And so their record label was putting out Rivers and Robots. And then they changed their mission after, I think it probably was 2020 that changed their mission. They couldn't meet together as much. And Jonathan was putting out more stuff solo. And then they realized they wanted to go into more ministry, right?
yeah,
And so, which is similarly happened with us, where we wanted to make Media Moses.
yeah,
Um, and so then Set Sail, their record label, got turned into Magnify because they wanted to go into turning their artwork into missions, kind of some sort of a ministry. And so I think after 2020, Jonathan being started doing his own independent stuff from that. And then Magnify, I think, came after that, right after that. And then they started doing more ministry stuff, like I said. But you could see what that ministry stuff really looks like when you look at the Magnify Tokyo project. That's kind of what that project entails. Going into a community to where you can meet other artists and try to help them build projects, like build artistic work. And so
yeah,
they ended up making an album and they ended up making a magazine from Magnify Tokyo. And that's
yeah.
probably going to depend on the kind of artists that they most commingle with, right? So if they come to Florida, which it appears that they've come to Florida, I just haven't gotten an update from them on how they're doing. And I subscribe to their thing and everything. So hopefully we'll get an update from them soon at Magnify. But when they do, we'll find out what kind of projects maybe that they're thinking of. Maybe God is leading them to make, and maybe they'll even have some get-togethers here in Florida somewhere. So I hope to go over there and say hi and bless
That would be
them
awesome.
and whatever I can do. So,
Yeah,
yeah, so that's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. Really edifying stuff. Um, and a lot of it, like, I recommend listening to it if you're ever feeling down. It will get your mind on God for sure.